We'd always like to do more business, more British exports, more British jobs, and in this case, very high-end engineering jobs protected and created by our diplomacy abroad.
Does it matter what Saudi Arabia does with that weaponry? If it's used against civilians in Yemen or against protesters at home?
Yes, it does matter, and we have one of the strictest export licensing regimes in the world. We only export weapon systems where all the criteria of our export licensing system are met.
So you know that those British weapons are not being used in Yemen? You know that?
No, I know that some of them are being used in Yemen. That doesn't make them, that doesn't fall foul of the export licensing criteria. It would be hypocritical to think that we could have a large defence industry exporting weapon systems and that they never get used. What matters,
so you don't have a veto in where those weapons are used or how they're used?
What matters is that they are used legally in compliance with international humanitarian law, and we monitor that very carefully.
Well, Saudi Arabia stands accused currently of war crimes in Yemen. Britain signed up to the Arms Control Treaty, which was, I quote, to save lives and ease the immense human suffering caused by armed conflict, David Cameron's words. So if those weapons are being used in Yemen as war crimes, then that carries criminal sanctions for our government.
Yeah, but you've made a huge leap of logic there.
Well, which part of it do you not agree with then? That they weren't war crimes? Those
weapons are being used, some of them are being used in Yemen. The important thing is that they are being used legally in an international armed conflict. There have been accusations of breaches of international humanitarian law. We regularly intervene with the Saudis to encourage them to be transparent with us.
Have you intervened here with their use in Yemen?
Yes, I was in Saudi Arabia a couple of weeks ago and we discussed precisely this issue. And
what did they tell you though?
The Saudis deny that there have been any breaches of international humanitarian law. Obviously, that denial alone is not enough. We need to see proper investigations. We need to work with the Saudis to establish that international humanitarian law has been complied with. And we have an export licensing system that responds if we find that it is not. We will then find that we cannot license additional shipments of weapons.
We all understand that there is pragmatism involved in foreign policy, but do you worry that the ethical dimension, the moral dimension, what you came into this job to do, is being lost?
No, I don't. But I think I do draw a distinction between a pulpit approach, which is simply preaching at people, and an engagement approach. If you want to be able to influence the way people behave, you have to be engaged with them. You have to have some leverage in your discussions with them. And countries like Saudi Arabia, where we have strong collaboration, we work together in many areas, not just trade, but security as well. We collaborate on security with Saudi Arabia in a way which saves British lives, our intelligence collaboration. But that gives us an ability to discuss with them the more difficult issues as well, and to get results.